Hey, this is Miss Jerri from Life on the Road Recruiting. I'm coming to you guys with an informational video. This video is going to be about dollar store accounts. All too often I talk to drivers that's interested in getting on these dollar store accounts that's out here, and believe me, they are plentiful. There's a lot of dollar stores all across the United States, and a lot of your major carriers, anywhere from US Express, Swift, Werner, JB Hunt, CR England. I'm sure I missed a lot of them, but those are some of the ones that I know that that have these accounts across the US, and a couple of them I do work with. But I wanted to share with you guys everything you need to know, all that you need to know about dedicated dollar store accounts and what it takes to work on them, and everything you need to know. So before we get into this video, I want to make sure all of you subscribe to our channel, Life on the Road Recruiting, because not only do we share hot jobs, but we also share information. Because remember, we are recruiters that recruit for you, the driver. We don't recruit for the company. We work with 60+ companies, so we're not married to a company. Our goal is to find what is best for the driver. So make sure you subscribe, because we're going to be sharing a lot of information out there from our perspective as recruiters. You know the driver side, but let me tell you, I'm going to be telling you the recruiter side. So make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so that you can get notified every time we drop a new video. All right, let's get into this video. All right, so the first thing that you need to know before getting on a dollar store account is that it is 100% touch free. 100% touch free. So that means that you have to unload the trailer. So it just depends on what kind of account that you're on. You have to unload the trailer. So there's 3 different dollar store accounts. So there's your Dollar General, your Dollar Tree, and your Family Dollar. Okay, so Dollar General, it's not touching freight piece by piece. It's basically the trailers are preloaded. All of them are preloaded at the distribution center. When you pick up the trailer, you go to the store. You get there, you open up the trailer. Dollar General is loaded in roller carts. So they're loaded in a mix of like roller carts, pallets, and then some loose freight is in the U-boats. But for the most part, this is just pushing. So you have a lift gate trailer. So you're using the lift gate, you're pushing the roller carts down to the back of the trailer, using that lift gate, and then going down and then pushing it into the store. The thing about the Dollar General one is that freight is heavy. So that roller cart is going to be heavy. Drivers tell me that those roller carts are upwards of 800 to 1,000 pounds. So you have to be able to push those, because you got to think about it. Dollar stores, what do they have? They got water, they got canned goods, they got pretty little glass bowls and plastic containers and cereal and dog food and household goods. So you have to know that freight is going to be heavy, because it's a mix of everything. So Dollar General is pushing roller carts to the back of the trailer using the lift gate, and then going and pushing it inside the store. Once you get it into the back of the store, that's their problem. You handing it off to them, and then you're done. So that's Dollar General. The next one is Dollar Tree and Family Dollar. So those are exactly the same. The way they unload are exactly the same. You pretty much set your rollers up in the trailer, and then the rollers, it's like a conveyor belt. You're putting piece by piece onto the rollers, and then pushing it down to the lumpers or store clerks or whatever you want to call them. But Dollar General and Family Dollar have their own people at the bottom of the trailer that are unloading it for you. And you got to keep in mind that the time that it takes you at Dollar General, Family Dollar and Dollar Tree is gonna be as fast as you putting it on, and as fast as you got to consider, as fast as those people at the bottom are taking it off. Normally it's one person up top, unless you're a team, because there are team accounts for these dollar stores as well. But normally there's one person up top and then a couple of them down on the bottom that are taking it off. So you're pushing it down piece by piece. And when I say piece by piece, some of these accounts have upwards of 2,000 to 2,500 pieces of freight on them. So it's just, you know, important that you consider that you are going to be touching piece by piece. If you're a mover and you don't like to just, you know, sit still, you like to stay in shape, these accounts are really, really good for this type of driver. Now, what you need, I always tell my drivers that you need a back brace. Yes, a back brace, because you don't want to, you know, hurt your back. And you also need steel toe boots. So a lot of these accounts, you know, they'll tell you to have the steel toe boots ahead of time. But make sure those are two things that you're definitely going to need is the steel toe boots. You got to consider the weather, depending on the time of the year. You know, it's going to be hot in those trailers or it's going to be cold in those trailers. So it just depends on the time of the year that you're working these dollar store accounts. But I will continue to say that if you're a mover, if you're a shaker, if you like to make money, these accounts are, you know, really good. So the next thing that you need to know and keep in mind when it comes to working a dollar store account is the backing. The number of times that you have to back into the store, the distribution center, particularly the store, because you have to be a good backer. Some of these accounts, well, the majority of these accounts, you back it into stores 20, 28, 30 times a week. So you have to be a good backer, and you have to consider the fact that these dollar stores are in shopping centers, they're in strip centers, they're in rural areas. So the spaces and the areas that you got to maneuver into them are really small and sometimes really tight. So you have to be a good backer and you know, utilize your time. You don't want to have any accidents, any incidents backing into these distribution centers and stores. The docks, sometimes the docks might be full of water after it's rained. So those are just some things that you have to consider when hopping on to these dedicated dollar store type accounts. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the experience level. So a lot of these companies, they're taking drivers right out of school on a dollar store account because they need drivers. So the majority of them need 3 months experience, 6 months experience, but I do have a few companies that are taking drivers right out of school. Now, what they consider it right out of school is a student refresher. So you're pretty much with a trainer during that time period, but they will hire you on a dollar store account. Now, if you're coming right out of school or if you have 3 months experience, the pay on a dollar store account is actually really good considering you're just getting your CDL. So definitely something to consider, as long as you're with someone that, you know, you're going to get the training that you need for these accounts. So these accounts are also for your lease purchase drivers. A lot of companies have the option to lease a truck and do a short-term or long-term lease. So that is an option. Now, one thing about lease is you're going to get home every week. Rather than trying to lease a truck and then getting home, you know, being out 3 and 4 and 5 weeks, to make sure that you get enough miles to be able to cover the lease and still make a lot of money to be able to provide for your family and then eventually own the truck. So lease drivers are taking on a lot of these dollar store accounts, as well as owner operators. So owner operators are taking on this account as well. So let's talk about what orientation looks like for dollar store accounts. So it's a couple different things. Of course, you got your going over your benefits. You got your road test, which they will probably emphasize backing on that kind of road test. You got your company drug test. A lot of these companies are doing hair tests on these types of accounts. They're doing hair tests, period. But and I have another video where I'll go over hair tests and urinalysis tests as well. So be sure to stay tuned for that. But the main thing that you need to know for a dollar store account that you will have to do is what they call a physical standards test. So a lot of these companies do a physical standards test, and what that consists of is just like a multitude of physical move around type things that you have to do. So you have to balance on one leg for a matter of 20 or 30 seconds, and then balance on the other leg. And they just want to make sure from an equilibrium standpoint that you can, maneuver around in those tight spaces in the trailer and things like that. They want you to be able to climb onto the platform into a high kneel, squat or duck walk under the platform. They want to make sure that you're able to lift up to 50 pounds or however many pounds you have to lift. And then they want you to be able to put it over your head, because those boxes are stacked trailer high on some of those accounts. So you have to be able to pick them up and put them down onto the rollers. Push and pull. You got to be able to show that you can push and pull. I think that over the years, one of the main things that drivers that I've had go into orientation that have not been able to pass is the balance on one leg, because you have to be able to balance an average of 20 seconds over 3 times to be able to pass on each leg. Okay, so that's something that you need to be able to, ensure that you can be able to do. So the next thing I want to talk about on the dollar store accounts is the home time. So I have accounts all across the U.S. The majority of them are home every week. So you're running in your region, home every week for a 34-hour reset. Now, do drivers see the house sometimes more than just a 34-hour reset? That is possible if you live near the distribution center. So if you're close to the distribution center, like I have some lease and owner operators that are in a new distribution center that opened up in Ocala, Florida. Those guys that live right there in Ocala, when they come back to, because they're only running in Florida, but when they come back to the distribution center to get a new load, it could be their 10-hour break time, and they can do that 10 hours at home because they're so close to the distribution center. Now, is that always gonna happen? Absolutely not. It's few and far between. The majority of the drivers are home every week for a 34-hour reset. And what does it look like? What does it look like as far as days off? I can't guarantee or tell you exactly what days off you're going to have. It's just going to depend on the store. A lot of the times there's occasions that, some of those stores do not have the staffing to take in loads over the weekend. So there may be the opportunity that, you're not delivering to the stores over the weekend. So generally, in my experience, on a lot of these accounts, drivers are either home Friday evening or mid-Saturday day, do their 34, go back to the distribution center, and then pick up their load, and then head to the first store to stage so that they can be there and ready to drop that first load at the store that Monday morning when the store opens. So a lot of them either get there Sunday night and just kind of sit and wait, and take their 10 hours. while they're waiting on the store to open that next Monday morning. That's how it happens a lot of times. But, you know, there are times that you get back in on Sunday night, you know, and then leave out on your 34 hours later. So it just depends on what account you're on, what, you know, how that account is managing, what area of the U.S. that you're in. That's going to determine, you know, how your account runs. So I do want to make note that there are some dollar store accounts that are local, home every day. That's not the norm. They're few and far between. But I do know of, you know, some companies on the East Coast. Well, one company on the East Coast that does have that option, and they're strictly Monday through Friday. But it's hard to get into. It's definitely not the norm for a local. There's some in the Midwest as well, like up in Michigan, but when they open, bam, they filled up real fast because everybody wants that local home every day, and then you still get that same pace. So definitely, if you can find a local dollar store account and you don't mind touching freight, you better jump on it real fast. So the next thing I want to talk about is sign-on bonuses. Before we get into pay, I'll talk about sign-on bonuses because a lot of these companies do give a sign-on bonus for these dollar store accounts. And not all, because you know, some companies just don't believe in sign-on bonuses. But the majority of the companies that I work with will give a sign-on bonus. So the way they break them down, and of course, every don't let anybody tell you that they're giving a sign-on bonus and they're gonna give it to you all up front. You know, they got a $10,000 sign-on bonus and you're about to walk away with $10,000 right after orientation, because that is absolutely false. Okay, let's take a $6,000 sign-on bonus. The way they break that down is you get $500 on after you pull the first load. So that's to keep you in there, get you in there, pull that first load, and then guess what? Bam, you get another $500 after 30 days. So that's $1,000 right there up front on top of your weekly settlement that you're getting every week. And then after that, they'll give you like $1,000 each month for the you know, whether it's 6 months, they'll give you $1,000 for 5 months, or if it's 12,000, they'll give you $1,000 for the next 11 months. So it just depends on the company. But you want to ask, what does the sign-on bonus breakdown look like? Okay, because if you're on one of those dollar store accounts where you're making, you know, $1,600, $1,700 a week, because they are plentiful out there, that's a nice little chunk of change. You just have to be able to unload. That's the main thing. You have to be willing and able to unload the trailer, and then stack. If you are able to do that and stack, then you know, that's a huge plus. So next I'll go into how they break down the pay on these dollar store accounts. So the pay breakdown, it's a little bit different across companies, but for the most part, they're all the same. They pay a couple different ways. So they pay by, a lot of them pay by the mile, of course. Everybody's pretty much going to pay by the mile. You're going to see that across the board. Everybody's going to pay by the mile. Now, what they pay by the mile, it just depends. I've seen some that, and you need to consider this, I've seen some that pay, you know, 59 cents a mile, okay? And that sounds wonderful. That sounds wonderful, okay? 59 cents a mile, but then you look and you getting 900 miles a week. Well, that ain't shit, okay? So, but one thing to consider is that when you're getting a lot of, your CPM is high, then, and your mileage is, you know, rather high, then everything else is going to fall in place to where you're making upwards of well over $1,200 a week. Okay, so generally on a dollar store account, if you just do the minimum, you can make between like $1,250 to $1,400-$1,500 a week. And of course, that's before taxes. I don't quote nobody's taxes because everybody's situation is different. But just to start off with, there's like 3 or 4 ways that you can get paid. So just to start off with is the CPM. So the cents per mile. Now the average miles on these accounts range anywhere. I've seen as low as $9.50. I've seen as high as $1,700, $1,800. But that's when you think about the amount of stops that you make. That's about as high as many miles as you can get, unless you just out there hustling. So that first thing is the mileage, okay? The second thing is the unload pay. So a lot of companies will pay you for each unload. So for each load you go pick up from the DC, that is considered an unload because you end up unloading it. Average companies do about anywhere between $150 to, I've seen companies do $220 for an unload. For example, on the East Coast, they paying $220 to unload for you to unload the trailer plus your miles as well. So upwards of $220 for each unload. You got to consider that you're going to the distribution center 3, sometimes 4 times a week. 3 times a week at $220, that's $660. 4 times a week at $220, that's $880. So that's $880 just off the top for unloading, for no mileage pay, no nothing else. That's a good start. It's a good foundation. Okay. The next thing, the way they pay is a lot of companies will pay you for backhauls. So anytime you got to take something back to the distribution center, whether it's those roller carts from the Dollar General stores, or stacks and pallets and stuff like that from these different stores, then that's considered a backhaul. And so they pay between, I've seen $30, I've seen $40 on being paid out on backhauls. So that's another way to make money on dollar store accounts. And then the last way some companies, the way they break it down, is they'll pay by stop. So I've seen $50 a stop, I've seen $25 a stop. It just depends. So when you are a company driver and you're getting on a dollar store account, so these are things that you need to know. How do you pay for, what's the pay breakdown for a dollar store account? How does your company break down the pay for a dollar store account? And you need to add up the miles. You need to know the cents per mile. You need to know the unload pay. You need to know the backhaul pay. And if you're a lease driver or an owner operator, you need to know they do the same thing. The average for lease drivers is between $1 a mile all the way. I've seen $1.50 a mile on some accounts as well. But lease drivers, they also get the unload pay. They also get the backhaul pay, but they also add, a lot of companies add a fuel surcharge. So if you're a lease or an owner operator, they add a fuel surcharge, a weekly fuel surcharge. So you get that every week, and it helps to offset some of the costs for your fuel. And I always tell my lease and my owner operators that if you're going to run under a company, the dollar store account is the best way to go, simply because, you as one individual, you're not going to get the best fuel rate when it comes to gas out there. But when you're running under a company, they're running all over the United States. So they got these good discounts on fuel rates and things like that they got at these truck stops. So definitely consider that as well. All right, so that wraps up my video of going over the dedicated dollar store accounts. Look here, that was a whole lot to go over, but I hope you guys learned something. I hope you were able to take something away. If you have any questions about dollar stores, don't hesitate to give me a call. I'm always able to answer them. Looking forward to speaking with my drivers. My direct number is 832-384-5689. Again, that's 832-384-5689. And I'm Miss Jerri with Life on the Road Recruiting. And remember, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. My loyalty is with you, the driver, not the company. All right. I look forward to hearing from y'all. Bye-bye now.